Everyone's talking about the AI explosion, right? You see the headlines, you see the crazy new demos, but look, that's just the fireworks show. You're missing the real fight, the actual war happening on the ground for the infrastructure, for the very plumbing that powers this entire revolution. Today, we're going to look at the whole battlefield. Okay, so here's what we're covering. We'll start with the brutal, low-margin war for the chips that, frankly, everyone thought was already over. Then, we'll see how that's fueling a new AI arms race. After that, we'll check the impact of two massive tech mandates coming right here to India. And finally, we'll ask the big one. What does all this tech really mean for our jobs, our society, and, our own brains? For the longest time, it seemed like Nvidia was the undisputed king of AI. The stock was through the roof, everyone was scrambling to buy their chips. But I've been saying for a while now, this was getting way, way overhyped. And now, finally, we're starting to see some serious cracks appear in that fortress. Look, I've seen this movie before in the market. The exact moment a company looks completely unbeatable, that's when its biggest customers start building their own weapons in the background. And believe me, the competition is getting very serious. This isn't some threat on the horizon. It's happening right now. First up, you've got Google. Their new TPU chips are a whopping 30% cheaper for getting the exact same result as an Nvidia chip. Now, in a world of massive data centers burning through cash, a 30% saving isn't just a discount, my friend. That is a game-changing strategic advantage. And the kicker? Google is now selling these to everyone, not just keeping them for themselves. And not to be left behind, Amazon is out there claiming their new Trainium chips are 50% cheaper than Nvidia's GPUs. Half the cost! You have to remember, Google Cloud and Amazon Web Services are the two biggest cloud players on the planet. They're not just Nvidia's customers anymore. They are building their own arsenals to break free. So here's the real story, the bottom line. Nvidia's dominance was built on its brilliant but totally proprietary CUDA software. That's the magic sauce that makes their chips so good for AI. But that dominance is now being directly challenged. And not just on performance, but on cost and energy efficiency, the two biggest headaches for anyone running AI at scale. Their biggest customers have officially become their biggest competitors. That's the war. So what happens when the hardware war heats up like this? Well, it means the fuel for AI, that raw computing power, is getting cheaper and much more available. And cheaper fuel, well, that's leading to an absolute explosion of new, more powerful, and specialized AI models. Let's see how this is playing out. Just look at video generation. It feels like a new, mind-blowing model is dropping every single week. You've got Runway, Lenza, Pika, which now has audio built in, and even Apple, who everyone thought was asleep at the wheel, has jumped into the race. The pace is just insane. 6 months ago, this kind of quality was science fiction. 6 months from now, honestly, who knows? But it's not just about making cool videos. We're seeing models like DeepSeek winning gold medals at the International Math Olympiad. Now, why on earth does that matter? Because advanced math isn't just about crunching numbers. It's the absolute foundation of logic, of reasoning, of problem solving. If an AI can truly master that, well, it can master pretty much anything. And here's the catch. Here's the real headline. These new models from DeepSeek, the ones winning math competitions, are up to 30 times cheaper to run than similar models from Google or OpenAI. 30 times cheaper. This isn't just a small improvement. This is the beginning of the complete commoditization of advanced AI. It's becoming a utility, like electricity. So this massive wave of powerful, cheap technology is now crashing right onto our shores here in India, and you can be sure the government is paying very close attention. Let's look at two major mandates that are coming down the pike and what they really mean for all of us. First up, there's something called direct-to-mobile, or D2M. The simplest way to think about it is like the old Doordarshan broadcast, but delivered straight to your smartphone. No internet, no data pack, you don't even need a SIM card. The government sees this as a vital tool for mass communication and emergency alerts, especially if mobile networks ever go down. Now, the second mandate is a lot more controversial. It's a requirement for all smartphones to have assisted GPS satellite tracking that cannot be turned off. For the government, it's a powerful security tool. They could track any device instantly, even if it's switched off. But for citizens, and for big tech companies like Apple and Google who are fighting this, it raises some very, very serious questions about privacy and potential surveillance. So we've gone from silicon chips to AI models to government policy. But the real question is, how does any of this actually affect you and me in our daily lives? let's bring this discussion down from the 30,000-foot view to what's happening on the ground. We're already seeing it everywhere. In entertainment, you've got Disney's unbelievable new robots that look like they've literally walked out of a cartoon. In our work lives, Google is creating AI agents to manage our overflowing inboxes. And in wearable tech, Meta is launching their new smart glasses right here in India. But make no mistake, the biggest, most profound impact is going to be on jobs. If you ask me, this is the single most critical takeaway from everything we're talking about today. There is a very real risk of a massive societal divide opening up. A gap between the, let's say, 1% who know how to use these new AI tools and the 99% who don't. And once that gap opens, it's just going to get wider and wider. It's really on all of us to figure out how to bring everyone along for the ride. You know, we've spent a lot of time talking about silicon hardware, chips, processors, servers. For this final section, I want to pivot and talk about the most complex and powerful piece of hardware known to man, the human brain. There's a fascinating news study out that shows our brains go through 4 major shifts or resets at key stages of our lives. It's almost like our internal operating system gets a major software update around age 9, then again at 32, 66, and 83. So in childhood, our brain is just connecting all the wires, trying to figure out what does what. Then, as a young adult, it starts optimizing those pathways for speed and efficiency. By adulthood, it's a stable, precise machine that knows all the routes. But then, in later life, something pretty remarkable happens. It actually begins to rewire itself. And this chart really illustrates the key finding of that research. In our later years, even as some of our cognitive functions might slow down a bit, our emotional intelligence can actually increase. The study found that life satisfaction for older adults was directly tied, not to their cognitive power, but to the strength of their emotional connections. So that brings us to a final thought. As we race to build these incredible machines that can outcalculate, outreason, and eventually outperform us in almost every logical task, perhaps this research on our own brains points to the real answer. Maybe the ultimate purpose of human intelligence isn't about raw processing power at all. Maybe it's about connection, emotion, and finding a bit of peace. Something to think about.